All right, guys, let's go over this guided practice for CoachBook page 140 and 141. If you, in your packet, it should be one of the first pages. It says we'll go over in a video on Monday. I'm a little late getting this up there. I had a meeting this morning. So let's just quickly get this done. I'm going to get me a piece of notebook paper to write the problems on and work them so that you'll have the work also. So this is CoachBook 141. So number one says solve for D. So we've got 2D plus 8 equals 24. All right, so here's our variable term. Here's our constant term. We're going to subtract 8. This gives us our 0. Bring down the 2D. And 24 minus 8, we're not going to rely on our mashed potato brains to do that. We get 16. Divide both sides by 2. And D equals 8. So that is B. Number 2. What is the value of G? 1/3 G minus 6. It's a wonky looking 6, isn't it? Minus 6 equals 4. So here's our variable term. Here's our constant term. We add 6 to both sides. This becomes a 0. Bring down the 1/3 G. 4 plus 6 is 10. Now we've got to divide both sides by 1/3. And we're going to get our calculator. And we do 10 divided by 1/3 is 30. So G equals 30. And that is D. Okay, number 3. I'll write it on here and then I'll move my paper up so you can see it. Let me just move this over. 3 times, this is 3 times K minus 2 equals 15. So first we have to distribute because we don't have our just two-step equation. Remember I told you you got to have one C and one V. And we don't have a C and a V yet. We don't see that. So this is 3 times K is 3. This is 3 times K. This is 3 times a negative 2. So that gives me 3K minus 6 equals 15. Now I have my V and my C. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. That becomes a 0. Bring down my 3K equals 15 plus 6 is 21. Divide both sides by 3. And K equals 7. That is D. Number 4. Negative 3B. This is number 4. Negative 3B plus 5 equals 13. Here's my V and my C. Subtract 5 from both sides. That gives me 0. Bring down my negative 3B equals 13 minus 5. You probably are having to use your Desmos calculators at home, but that's okay. Divide both sides by negative 3. There's my 1. And B equals 8 divided by a negative 3 is negative 2.6 repeating. If I convert that to a fraction, that is a negative 2 2/3. Okay, I didn't realize you couldn't see that whole piece of paper on number 4, so there's the steps. There's the work for where I just worked through that one. But the answer there is -2 2/3, which is B. Okay, number 5. What is the value of n? We've got 3/8 n minus 1/3 equals 5/6. Now, we're not going to worry about this all being fractions because we got our calculator. So, fractions are not our enemy. Okay, number 5. Here is our variable term. Here's our constant term. We're not going to let these fractions mess us up now. They're not our nemesis. We got our calculator and we're going to use it. So, we're going to add 1/3 to both sides. Now, I do like to put my 1/3 out here because it looks kind of weird, but that becomes our 0. We bring 3/8 n down, and we just take our calculator. 5/6 plus 1/3 is 7/6. Then I'm just going to leave it like that for a minute. If your Desmos calculator gave it to you in a decimal, hit the little fraction conversion button over to the right of your answer and change it to a fraction so that you can put it in like this. Now we divide both sides by 3/8. And n equals 7/6 divided by 3/8. And we get 28/9. Now I'm going to look at my answer choices, and 28/9 is not helping me none. So I'm going to change this to 3 1/9, which is A. Okay. Number 6. -2/3 times Q plus 1/6 equals a -11/12. Well, this is not a two-step equation, so I'm going to change my color so I can show my distributive property. This is -2/3 times Q, and this is -2/3 times 1/6. So this is going to give me a -2/3 Q, and then I'm going to put in -2/3 times 1/6, and I get a -1/9 equals a -11/12. 2/3 times 1/6. Okay, -2/3. All right, now here's my variable term. Here's my constant term. I add 1/9 to both sides. That gives me 0. This gives me a -2/3 Q equals. So I've got -11/12 plus 1/9 is a -29/36. Divide both sides by -2/3. So I'm just going to divide that by a -2/3. And I get Q equals 29/24. And that doesn't help me. I look at my answer choices, so I've got to change that. 1 5/24. Uh-oh, y'all can't see that. 1 5/24, which is A. All right. Let's flip this over. I will scan this in so that you'll have it to look at. Number 7. We've got 2.5 m minus 5 equals 9. Here's my variable term. Here's my constant term. I'll add 5 to both sides. That becomes 0. And 2.5 m comes down here. 9 plus 5 is 14. Divide both sides by 2.5. So I'm just going to go right here and do 9 plus 5 equals 14 to make sure I did my addition right. Divided by 2.5 is 5.6, which is C. Number 8, negative 3/4 J plus 1/5 equals 3/5. Here's my variable term. Here's my constant term. We subtract 1/5 from both sides. Negative 3/4 J equals 2/5. I am going to just do that right here just because I want to make sure. 3/5 minus 1/5, 2/5. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3/4. There's my 1. And J equals 2/5 divided by negative 3/4 is a negative 8/15, which is B. Okay. Number 9. What is the value of V? 0.6 times V minus 2 equals 1.5. I don't have a two-step equation here, so I've got to do that distributive property. So that's 0.6 times V and 0.6 times a negative 2. So what do I have? I have 0.6 V and then 0.6 times a negative 2 is negative 1.2. So minus 1.2 equals 1.5. There's my variable term. There's my constant term. I'm going to add 1.2 to both sides. That becomes a 0. Bring down my 0.6 V. 1.5. This is 2.7. 1.5 plus 1.2 divided by 0.6. Divide both sides by 0.6. And V equals 4.5, which is C. And number 10, negative 5 times X plus 2 equals a negative 20. So I got to distribute my 5. Negative 5 times X. Negative 5 times 2. So that's a negative 5X minus 10 equals a negative 20. Here's my variable term, constant term. Add 10 to both sides. That's a 0. Bring down my negative 5X. Negative 20 plus 10 gives negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 5. And X is positive 2, which is C. And that's 1 through 10. You're only going to do 1 through 10 tomorrow. So today you're going to do this on your guided practice. You're going to complete this and get started on your study guide. Tomorrow you'll do this, put it in Mastery Connect, and you're only going to do 1 through 10 on the Mastery Check. So I am here. If you need me, let me know. Have a great one.